Oh, we are feeling good today. What's good, everybody? Welcome into the Coach and Company podcast. We are here every single weekday to support the morning show. If you missed any of our show this morning on Stadium and Valley Sports Live or Amazon Prime, Direct TV, YouTube TV, I encourage you to go back and watch it on demand at our Coach and Company YouTube page. You're here right now. Do it after this podcast. Also, we're coming off a 6-3 day yesterday as far as our best bets are concerned. So we want to make today day number 2. Now, today's a very special episode of this podcast. We're trying to turn this brand into more than just shows. Every time there's a big topic, we want to tackle it however we can. So coming up in about 6 or 7 minutes, Ben Garrett is going to be joining us live right here on the show. Now you say, hey, who's Ben Garrett? Well, Ben Garrett is the beat writer who made national news this past weekend when Lane Kiffin, in all of his bullying glory, walked up to him on the sidelines and said, you want to call me that name? Meet me out back. Let's see how early. Meet me underneath the stadium. Let's see how that goes. So Ben is he works for On 3. He is a beat reporter for Ole Miss. So we're going to ask him a lot of questions. What's it been like at Ole Miss the last 24 hours? What's it been like for him covering this team the last week or two with really the biggest story coming out of college football, I would say, in years? Lane Kiffin, who is kind of made a name for himself bouncing around job to job to job. And I don't know that I've ever seen, guys, a story where there's people on both sides of the fence. You've got the money is everything guys, where you're like, and I've had people say this to me on X, Coach, you would take it too. You'd take a 35% bump. Guys, let's stop for a second. Ole Miss was willing to match everything that LSU was going to pay him in his salary. Now, where it gets a little sticky is NIL money until there is some parameters, until there is somebody overseeing this, and the NCAA is not doing their job because it's a Wild West. LSU is willing to pay $25 million for Lane Kiffin to use to go out and buy the best players in the country. Now, the LA Dodgers did it. They won back-to-back World Series titles. But in college football, it's a little bit different. And not only is Ole Miss pissed, but there are people in Louisiana that are pissed because the governor, in a state where the median income is what it is, there aren't a ton of wealthy people, and he is using state funds to fund this one job at LSU. Think about this. He has to and people in the state, because it's a state university. You got to it's not a private university. It's a state university. So he has to approve all of these expenditures. So when you're paying Brian Kelly, and they tried to get out of it, over $50 million to not coach your football team, and then you go after Lane Kiffin, and he's got the number one coach agent in the country in Jimmy Sexton. And he basically represents all the big coaches. And he's going to get every last dollar he possibly can. And I have no problems with that part of it. My big issue, and many of you, over 15,000 views on X right now, my take that I posted Sunday on this whole situation. Because I'm tired of the people that say, oh, you got to chase the money. You got to chase the jobs. Sometimes you can make a job. Sometimes you can make a legacy. Was Nick Saban who Nick Saban was before he came to Alabama? I would say no. He's been at LSU. He loved it at LSU. But what did he do? He left to go to the NFL to try it out. So there are people that say, Coach, Lane Kiffin is doing the same thing. He's always looking for that bigger, better job. Well, sometimes, ladies and gentlemen, you are in that bigger, better job. Sometimes in life, when you're 50-some years old, you can say, you know what? Maybe I can plant my flag here. And over the course of the next 20 years, we have an opportunity to be a big-time player in what is going to be a growing college football playoff landscape. He could have done that. He chose not to. And there's a lot of people that I respect, a lot of friends of mine that completely think differently because they've been locked up in the world of it's all about the money. I promise you, if they win a college football national championship at Ole Miss with Lane Kiffin, he's not going to be thinking about, man, I just made $11 million. Man, I just got my bonus that I get because of winning a national championship. No, he's going to feel that joy of being in the locker room with 100 guys who came to play for him saying, Coach, thank you for helping us get to the promised land. Thank you for helping us realize what we could do as young men who are now trying to embark on a world that is very, very difficult to live in. But instead, Lane Kiffin is showing these same players, well, it doesn't matter. Loyalty doesn't matter. Nothing matters. So, without further ado, I am thrilled that we were able to track him down. I am thrilled that he's coming on the show. We've got a lot of respect for it. We played his take the other day, and I agree with every single word that he said. So let's bring in to the Coach and Company podcast for the very first time from On 3, Ole Miss Spirit, the one and only Ben Garrett. Ben, good morning. How are you, sir?
Coach, I apologize for my tardiness. See, us little people, as Lane Kiffin would probably call us, we have real world problems. The wife's car kind of crapped out, so I forgive my tardiness. But let me tell you something.
Yeah.
It is an absolute thrill to join you, my man. I'm from Mississippi, so what do you think I'm heading with this right now? Been a wrestling fan my entire life. Dude, you're the man, and I know Jerry the King Lawler up in Memphis would say the same thing, dude. So I just want to say thanks to you, man, for this opportunity and for all you do, dude. You're great.
Well, thank you very much. That means a lot to me. It really, really does. It really does. By the way, King beat me a couple of times, so I still have to get back at him, even though he's getting a little bit older. So, but I
He's
appreciate
getting a
the
little bit
compliment.
older, and he still cusses like a sailor when he's out with normal people. The minute he gets on his camera ready, though, he turns into the king. You know,
Right?
it's just
Just
like
flips
he's a
the
legend.
switch.
He's the best, bro. He's the best. The king of Memphis wrestling.
Well, I hope the wife's car is good. And again, thank you so much. I know Tuesdays at 10:30 Eastern, 9:30 local, not the ideal time, but you haven't had the most ideal couple of weeks. Let's start with this because this to me is the biggest story in college football
Mhm.
probably in the last 20 years. Let's
Mm.
let's not start with your stuff first. What has it been like covering the story the last 24 to 48 hours?
It's the wildest event. I mean, don't let this baby face fool y'all. Okay, I'm 40 years young, happily married to my beautiful bride of 15 years, 2 kids. I've been doing this a
Awesome.
while now. I
Mhm.
mean, I've been doing this job, my dream job, for nearly 20 years, and I'm so thankful. God is good. But I'm gonna tell you, I've never seen something like this. I've never seen, and people need to first understand something. Ole Miss and its program and its fan base writ large will forever be indebted to Lane Kiffin for what he did, for what Ole Miss came out of. The NCAA stuff that was a bunch, now that we look at the environment in college football now, Coach,
Mhm.
compared to what it was, completely nonsense things that nearly buried them, gave them the modern day death penalty. To come out of that, to win at an unprecedented clip, to give Ole Miss not just its first 11 win regular season, but 10 wins 4 out of the last 5 years. I mean, it used to be only about making sure you win the Egg Bowl. Now,
That's right.
it's much more than that, and that is in no small part, if not the majority of it, so to Lane Kiffin. But and Ole Miss is thankful for that. But all Ole Miss ever wanted for 6 years, while giving him everything. I mean, this is not about him moving for money. This is not about him moving for like more NIL, even though he's going to say that and try to play the victim because it's Lane.
Yep.
At the end of the day, Ole Miss just wanted him to love him back, and it was they just as most end up learning with Lane Kiffin, you aren't enough. You're lesser than. And that, I mean, I think of Lane, like my working relationship with Lane for 6 years was fine. It was great. I've been in his office, I've talked to him on the phone. I've talked to him through text messages. And I think if you'd have polled Ole Miss fans in general when he was hired, they knew what they were getting in that way. You're hiring a hired gun. This is the most nomadic coach in the history of the sport.
Mhm.
Um, and so to get 6 years, no one would have predicted that. However, what was inevitable was how it was going to end, how messy it would get. Did I think it would result in clothes being put on the street? Did I think it would result in him claiming he was getting run off the road, which is just not true? Because I know the people back here that he left, that he scorned, that he left bitter for no reason when they should be having their greatest time of celebration. Instead, they've had to deal with a cult of personality. He can make it all about the Lane show, but at the end of the day, this was supposed to be about Ole Miss's historic season, and he made it anything but that. And they still were willing to give it all to you. And you said, no, not enough to go chase a theoretical championship when you had won 3 wins away. So it's been the wildest thing, Coach. I'm not going to lie to you. Still riding around in the '04 F-150 paid off. We ain't making no more money. But I'm glad people can understand that Ole Miss has agency here. Ole Miss is not going to just die because Lane Kiffin said you're not enough. All right? Went to chase a logo. Ole Miss is still going to be here, and there are people like me that have to go get their wife's car fixed and be late for coach that are giving real money to ensure that Ole Miss has a roster because they
Wow.
care about it. This is like the Green Bay Packers. For think about it that way. It's all football in Oxford, Mississippi. Oxford, Mississippi is a beautiful, wonderful place, but it's all football, and that's not for everybody. But it's proven to be a successful formula, and throughout this whole wild thing, I think Ole Miss dealt the impossible situation, came out of it the best way it could when you knew that the exit was going to be messy.
You just gave me about 2 minutes of exactly what I wanted to hear because I agree 1000% with you. I can't stand listening to the people that are saying, "Oh, you coach, you would take the money too." It's not a. You said it. It's not about the money. And sometimes, as a former college athlete, Ben, there are things the feeling you get when you win and you do it with your brothers. There's no price tag on that. And I
Right.
think about the two different ways this went. If he would have stayed and the amount of love nationally that Lane Kiffin has never gotten, that he's been chasing since he was 32 years old as the coach of the Raiders, that would have been tenfold. And nobody would have faulted him. Not even LSU fans would have faulted him for staying at Ole Miss. Why do you think ultimately when he says, "Oh, I was praying," and then he brought his father into it. That's when I had to do this. I said, he's asking for sympathy
Mhm.
when he's one of one, when there are nobody else out there that this would even happen for. Why do you think he decided to go that route in the interview with Marty Smith right next to the airport as fans are outside flipping off an airplane?
The same fans flipping him off as he's leaving would have built a statue for you had you even just said at the start,
Yep.
guys, I'm all in with this team. If other schools want to approach me, this college culture is year to year now. Everybody agrees with you,
Mm-hmm.
right? No, like it's for players, it's for coaches. And that way, everybody agrees. But I'm focused on, like, I've always wanted to have this. I've been chasing my title my entire career. I am 3 wins away from it. Now I'm leaving for a hypothetical title at LSU. Unprecedented. This has never happened before. Like, if we allow it to happen again, and it's not just an Ole Miss story, this should anger everyone. Like, LSU, you'll get swept up in it too, but know that he will leave you. And when he does, it's going to be ugly because it's always about Lane Kiffin. It's disingenuous, is what it is. And it's a slap in the face to all those people who wanted to build a statue for you and would have even had you left for LSU, but committed to this team right now. But Lane Kiffin, as I'm sure, I'm not explaining anything to you. You don't know that. I hadn't probably already said, Coach. But Lane Kiffin is always chasing. He's got
Mm-hmm.
the arrival fallacy syndrome. You know what I mean? Like it's always, if I could just have this, if I could just have that. No doubt about it, he accomplished so much, and Ole Miss fans loved him despite so many warts. But God is sovereign, and we're all flawed people, right? So, like, no one's wanting to judge you on your warts, but when you slap them in the face, when you troll your own fan base as you go out, like, this is just straight up petty nonsense. This is just not how adults behave. Uh,
Thank you.
and
Let me jump in because when you say that, and I've had people say, "But coach, this is the biggest job." No, it's not. He's different than the guys at Auburn now and Florida that got hired. They'd say that was Tulane in South Florida. This is a guy that's already had the big job, and this is a guy that's already done that. So I
Mhm.
want to go to where he decided I'm going to go against everybody, including you. What was that moment like on the weekend when like you even put your hand on his shoulder? You had no idea he was going to threaten you. Is that right? What was that moment like?
It like I didn't think anything of it in the moment. Honestly, it was the end of a longer conversation, And one of his assistants, that's been a really good friend to me. I'm not going to mention him but he was like, "Don't say anything, don't say anything, don't say anything,"
Yeah.
because everybody understands what it's like to get swept up in the orbit of Lane Kiffin, and that's what's going to happen at LSU too, guys. Like, I'm thrilled for LSU fans. Y'all got your man. That's not what anyone's talking about here. It's less about that you should be celebrating. You're going to win. He's going to win. How much? Well, that's still very much up for debate because he still hasn't won anything, hasn't won a title, hasn't won a conference championship, and yet he's getting paid the same money as Kirby Smart. So that moment for me was just typical Lane stuff, right? Like, I was fine. I did a podcast for his son, not because I like just helping his son out. He's known me
Hmm.
for 6 years. He pulled me into his office because I dared to question why Ulysses Bentley wasn't playing last year. And what could Ole Miss
Oh
not
my
do last
God.
year, Coach? What could they not do? Run the ball with the
Yep.
best Ole Miss roster ever, and they lost 3 games, twice as a double-digit favorite, and it was because of offensive incompetency. And
Correct.
but like he's been planning to leave for a year. I think after that year going 9-3, which was the bulk of it, his fault, his shortcomings, he said, "I can't win here." And he tried to get in with LSU 3 years ago. Auburn, he admitted it. Like he went down the road with Auburn. He nearly go there. So like all of that, this was for me. While everyone sees the end of a longer conversation, because on the field he asked me first, "Hey, did that look like a team distracted?" I said,
Oh
Lane,
wow.
dude, I've never talked about distractions. He's going, "Yeah, but you called me a bitch." I said, I didn't call you a bitch. I wouldn't call another grown man a bitch. I would never say that. I said, I did say you can't turn a hoe into a housewife. Hoes don't act right because that, but it's a metaphor. I'm not calling you a hoe. I'm talking about,
Correct. We've all used it. Yeah.
yeah, it's like if I'd have said, a leopard won't change its spot, would you have gone, "How dare you call me a leopard?" So when he came back, I mean, for me, all I was thinking was, it was like, I have no delusion. I'm not a fighter. I don't do any of that stuff, but I'll talk my stuff. And I've always popped off at the mouth, especially when I feel like somebody's trying to get one over on me, because no one wants to play the clown. That's pride that we're all supposed to get rid
Yeah.
of, right? But he comes up to me and I'm sitting there going, don't do what you do. Don't go, "You know what, you are a," no, don't do that. I put my hand on the man's shoulder. I listened, and I
Yeah.
stepped back, and he was up the shoulder. He was up the tunnel. Meanwhile, his state trooper James wouldn't get his hands off of me. You know what I mean? So it's real easy to play tough when everything is wrestling and you're cutting a promo.
Yep.
That's what. So like, because none of those guys had anything to say in the press conference, including Lane, to me when I asked him about it, when I explained it to him in front of God and everybody. And there was nobody separating us, but he did. And then in the tunnel, I was right behind him, and they didn't have a word to say. See, it's all theater. It's all a show.
That's
It's the
incredible.
Lane Kiffin reality show. So for me in that moment, all I could think was, "Ben, don't be that stupid loudmouth ginger Shrek that you always are. Just chill." And unfortunately, that gets you clowned on the internet by a lot of people, which I don't mind that. Hilarious, because what do they say in wrestling, Coach? There's no press is bad press.
That's
Hey,
right. That's
if
right.
you
It's all good
if you
attention.
walk out and they boo you or they cheer you, that's what you want. But if you walk out and they say nothing, well, then you got a problem.
Do you think that at that point when he came back and then you watch him in the game, and this is why I am also been a Lane Kiffin fan. I
Yeah.
think that
Great. He's a great ball coach, man.
great ball coach, and I've had a lot of people say, "Coach, why is LSU and Ole Miss willing to go?" Because he's an offensive genius, and
Mhm.
that's never been disputed. That's why he got hired at 32 years old to run the Raiders.
That's
He
right.
is, and so to me, it's even a bigger issue when he says, "I hope they go out and win a college national championship." Ben, you and I both know without his offense and without him calling the plays in the moment, they are not going to have a shot to beat the Ohio States, the Georgias, the Indianas, because you got to score 30 plus. When he says those things on camera and then does the exact opposite, how does a person do that?
I don't know. I find it to be just because I truly want people to know something. I have no issue with Lane Kiffin. Quite literally
Okay.
on Saturday, after it all happened, he called me. I've got the proof of it, and he apologized. And I said, "I appreciate that." I also said, "I apologize for my role in it." And then he had some other nice things to say. I said, "I do wish that in the moment I would have talked my shit, because at least then I wouldn't have dealt with the process." But that's a me issue.
Right. Right.
Thank you for this, man, and it was over. 7:15 at Friendsgiving, I get a text. It's Lane. He's sending me one of the memes of him putting on a hoe hat and leaving the housewife hat down here with
You're
the
kidding
caption
me.
LOL. I sent him back another one where I'm like, we're back to back, like the Pretty Woman cover,
Yeah.
and just said "Pretty Coach." And I said, "It's wild in the streets out there, bro." And that's the last thing I've said to Lane Kiffin. And that's like the perfect way for it to end,
Mm-hmm.
because Lane is a beautiful mind in terms of football. But as far as being a CEO of big business, as far as all those kind of things, he has real warrants. But again, Ole Miss forgave all of it because it was unprecedented. I disagree that Ole Miss has no shot. If you're in the
Okay.
race, you're in the race. And if the logo on the side of the helmet was LSU or Georgia or whatever, this is an 11-1 football team that's
Mm-hmm.
only lost this year was to a single-digit loss to Georgia at their place. If it had LSU, Florida, whoever you think is a blue blood we've been making that debate for 2 weeks, do you think they'd be anywhere lower than 5? And yet Ole
No.
Miss, despite having not lost in a month, has dropped to 6, 7. And now we're talking about, well, yeah, without Lane, Lane was amazing. Lane is in game. You're absolutely right. You're going to have a drop off there in game because, like in game adjustments and strategy, there is no one better. However, that would be to shortchange so many people,
You're
right?
right. You're
And
right.
to
That's
rob
fair.
them
That's
of
fair.
agency. Like Trinidad Chambliss is, and like that's what's the real tragedy here, Coach. Trinidad Chambliss is one of the greatest stories in this sport.
Mm-hmm.
It's not about keeping up with the Kardashians. Trinidad Chambliss in the old days would be one of the guys we would tell this story on every single show. We talk about it all the time because he's a former 0-star recruit who went to Division II Ferris State, wasn't starting, got the job, came to the SEC, took Austin Simmons' job. It wasn't Austin's fault. He's a great player. They love him. But he got injured. He came in. You couldn't take him off the field. They won 11 games, and Lane Kiffin hadn't promoted that kid at all. Like you got a Doak Walker Award finalist in Kewan Lacey. He did nothing to push up on them. Last year, he was so vocal and adamant about including a 9-3 Ole Miss and only 9-3 because of him. Promoting them for the playoff that he didn't deserve. And this year, because he was, I guess, disappointed that these little Ole Miss Rebels won too much and he couldn't get out without looking like a jerk, he wouldn't promote any of that. So, like, now, at least for Ole Miss, yes, it's a terrible loss. Like, it hurts them because it feels like they've been betrayed in a lot of ways. But also, there's a tremendous sense of relief. So, while they're not the same, I would argue for Ole Miss, it's not going anywhere because its NIL collective is better at what it does than most everybody else. If the LSU is the New York Yankees, then Ole Miss should be the Tampa Bay Rays. And if they win a title this year without him, why don't we talk about what the story that would mean for Lane Kiffin? I think the narrative needs to be more focused on who really screwed all of this up. And I think it's unfair to everyone else to try to put it on anything else.
That's very, very well said, and I take that. I receive that. Let's focus on the quarterback for a second because the one thing that Lane Kiffin Ben has always done is on his way out the door, and we saw the OC get on the plane. And we've heard the rumors that he basically gave guys an ultimatum that if you're not on the plane, then you're not on my coaching staff. Now,
Yep.
he didn't do that with the players. Can you speak to that rumor?
Yes, it's true. He absolutely did. Because, see, we forget that local media, because I'm not going anywhere. Like, guys, I'm not making money off any of this. You know what I mean? That's not what we're talking about. I was here before Lane, and I plan to be here afterwards. I'm doing what I love to do. All right. And local media, they're the ones that are talking to the assistant coaches, to the players. A lot of the players and coaches that he himself wouldn't even talk to over 6 years. There was one former player who called me on Sunday. He wasn't playing for his NFL team that day, and the whole thing came down. And he calls me, and we talked about it. Like Lane never spoke to him. He hated him. He was nervous when we walked into his office one time together. And because he didn't know the guy, and Lane had only ever met his mom once, and that was on on the recruiting visit to get him to transfer in.
Wow.
Yeah, so like I understand people are like, this is Lane Kiffin. Absolutely, man. In game, he's incredible, but also $98 million Kirby Smart money for a man who hasn't won anything, and really it's based on what? Who he is. He's fun. He's interesting.
Yeah.
But what we used to give a crap about in this sport and what the local media, like we don't get to write as much about Oxford High School anymore, but we do write about the Rebels. And this place cares. And so, like, you think staffers and players have been okay with this the whole time? No. So it came out very quickly to me that, yes, basically every single coach was told, you either get on a plane today, meaning Sunday, or don't come. And this is the same guy who, for 2 weeks, only ever pushed back publicly in that embarrassing interview with Pat McAfee, only ever pushed back publicly about being issued an ultimatum by Ole Miss. Turns out the ultimatum was exactly what we said it was the whole time, and you denied. There was no scenario, Ole Miss was consistent, in which a departing Lane Kiffin would have been allowed to coach the playoffs. He knew that, and he didn't like it. He didn't like it that he couldn't have his cake and eat it too, and he got mad about it, threw a fit, and made it messy, and now he's being petty in every move he's making now. Like any move he makes, like trying to poach recruits, staffers, yes, he issued an ultimatum. The same guy said there's no such thing as ultimatums. But also, it's because Lane Kiffin only wants to have control and the power. When he loses a power dynamic, that's when you see him flinch. That's when you see a hit dog hollering. And that's why we're kind of where we are today, where Ole Miss can finally, its fan base, focus on the first title potentially in the 60s, regardless if anybody thinks they're real or not. They're still 11-1, and they beat Oklahoma. I would love to see them face Archie Manning. I'd love to see the defense that they would bring against that. Some emerging talent in Cam Franklin and William Eccles who are going to play on Sundays, who probably wouldn't have stayed if Lane had been the head coach. They'd have lost him in the portal because not everybody loved Lane Kiffin. He said screw you to all of them. Okay,
Wow.
so he came up to me at the end of it, and
Uh-huh.
I didn't pop back off and lose my job the next day. Oh well, now at least people can understand it's okay to love the Lane trade and how ridiculous the circus is, but also recognize there are real people that are being hurt by this. And that includes his own staff and players. I feel bad for Charlie Weiss that he was put in a no-win situation to get on that plane and be cussed at by Ole Miss
Mhm.
fans. Charlie Weiss was not a popular hire when he was made. He was considered Lane's guy. He really hadn't done anything away from Lane. And this would have been he might still coach the playoffs, but this would have been an opportunity to get out from that shadow. But like, I understand why he felt like, dude, what do I do? This is what I have.
Right.
This is what I have. So the point of all of that is to say, Lane Kiffin is a zebra who will never change his stripes. You can grow as a zebra. You can have tremendous personal growth as a zebra. I'm trying to say this in the nicest way, but ultimately, when the pattern of behavior is the same, every single time, leaving absolute wreckage and disaster in your wake and intentionally leaving it that way.
And it makes you wonder. So a lot of and this is why it was so important to me to have you on today. And thank you again. This is amazing. And it's not just that you're out here, spread like you're there every single day. And a lot of times in these cities that have these big universities, like I'm a KU fan. Lawrence is 80,000 in, 50,000 out, and Southeast cities are who their universities are.
That's
And a
right.
lot of times these coaches get protected within those cities because you love them and you love the outcome and you love what the football team's doing. And then when they leave, he had to know that a lot of this stuff would come out because players are scared to talk. Coaches certainly are scared to talk. When you're an assistant, Ben, and you have a chance, I'm assuming that Charlie Weiss will make, I don't know what the number is, but it's going to be well over $1 million to be the offense coordinator, wouldn't you say, at LSU?
Oh yeah, I think he's going to
Yeah.
make like $2 million a year or something like that. You know.
Yeah.
And here's the thing: if I think Ole Miss fans had it been a normal thing and somebody just stayed at the place he had built and actually finished the job and like accomplished the thing he said he was always cared about, like even Ole Miss fans been like, I don't know if Charlie Weiss is worth $3 million a year, but just like Lane, who continues to fall upwards, it's like he
Yes.
still keeps skipping steps. But this time he had an opportunity to finish his story in a way that would have made him legend in so many corners. They wanted to build you a statue. And even if you had wanted to leave, but it just said, I'm finishing it with this, but you couldn't. You couldn't
Oh,
do that.
all right, so let me ask you this, because that's exactly where I was going to go next. Is if because I know that Lane's going to blame the NCAA and the dates of the portal and leaving. He's going to blame that instead of if all things were equal, Ben, and everything waits till the day after the playoff is over, or at least until your team is done. Do you think Ole Miss would have compromised with him and allowed him, if privately he said, "Hey guys, I'm gonna go, but let's say I'm staying," or whatever that looks like? Could he have stayed in any way, shape, or form and coached this football team?
Maybe weeks ago, but maybe months ago. Because
Okay.
again, he's been pursuing this every year he's been here. Thing is LSU didn't want to talk to him 3 years ago.
Uh-huh.
I mean that was a hit to the pride because if anything, man, to be able to now say, yeah, now what do you think? I get where the man's coming from. Again, we all prideful. We all fall short. You know what I mean? So
Me
like,
too.
I get that. But at the end of the day, Lane Kiffin wanted to leave, and he didn't understand why he wasn't able to coach a team that, if he had been allowed to stay, would have spent 2 months. If it went all right, if y'all said, well, with Lane, they're a national
Yeah.
title contender. Okay, fine. So 2 months. Signing day is on Wednesday. Had he left in January, whatever, one, he could have been recruiting to this other team. He would have told them, you know, you get out, like you'll be able to get out of your NIL later, or like just sign in February. January is the transfer portal. The calendar is what it is. To say
Yep.
it's unfair and victim to Lane would be to not. You need to also say then that it's unfair and not just to Ole Miss. It's not fair. It's not equitable. It's embarrassing then for talent on ESPN, rep by CAA, and who owns this whole thing. Like this is all CAA owned, dude. Like for them to go out there and sit here and say, you know, well, yeah, let him coach. He should be allowed to coach. That's all coordinated. That's all. And like it robs Ole Miss of what's the truth. It would have crippled them one way or another. But maybe had he been honest and said, yes, I'm planning to entertain, or I've got schools that are interested in me. I'm going to go ahead and tell you, though, guys, y'all, they can approach my representation, but I'm not talking about any of it to any of them. I'm not considering anything. And don't brazenly send your family on a bye week.
What was that? What was that?
On information gathering trips to Gainesville and Baton Rouge. Like, that is brazen disrespect, let alone, I mean, honestly, Ole Miss believes if he really keeps trying to make it real ugly, like there's some legitimate damages that have been done here, and it would have only been way, way worse had they let him coach, because then you're in February and you've lost 60 of your players. Ole Miss replaced 20 of its all 22 from last year, Coach.
Wow.
20 of 27, over 70% of their starters. 78%, I think is what it was, of their starters. And Lane Kiffin doesn't recruit. Lane Kiffin, I just told you the story about the former player. Like, Lane is the guy that takes the Twitter picture at the end of the visit. The coaches are the ones that's like the position coaches in the new world of college football. They are more a coach to your favorite player than the head coach.
The head coaches,
because of the business of it, right? That he's the CEO. You don't worry, like you're on the first floor. You don't worry about third floor problems. You know what I mean? But like, if he'd have been honest and said, I'm going to entertain that, but committed, he couldn't look his players in the face. And he dared anyone to question it, even stupid Ginger Shrek. He questioned anyone that would dare to say, do you not think it's disrespectful? Hey, hold up. Like, you said money's not a consideration. What are the considerations then? And he still won't tell you, because the truth is what hurts. It's biblical. Vanity of vanities. Man's still chasing every vanity he can get. I'm glad he found some inner peace. I'm so proud of him. Like he speaks on God. Praise be to God from whom all blessings flow. But friend, you can grow, but you can still be who you are in a lot of ways. And you got to be able to look in the mirror and say, man. And I don't think anybody, like, he doesn't ever want to look in the mirror. He just wants a bigger mirror. You know what I mean?
So true.
He ain't looking for he ain't looking for self-reflection. He's just looking to say, look at what I've done. And
he can't argue that. Like, everything you're saying right now, you can't argue that. And so, God, there's so many things here that are so different than when other coaches leave someplace. And I wonder if at any point when he's privately by himself and he's looking in that said mirror, if he ever has or ever will regret this particular move, because almost every other time, even when it's a big decision, usually the coach is allowed to go and address his team.
He was allowed. He's lying.
Oh, tell me he's lying. Tell me
because he was. Well, no, he's not lying, because that's not fair.
Okay.
Just like he completely mischaracterized what I was actually saying, because he learned about the stupid crude, and it's a crude metaphor, yes, but also objectively a funny line. I thought he'd see the humor in it, because I wouldn't like I was going, yeah, he's a hoe. That's not what anybody was doing here. I was making it's just like, and but he saw that on Tuesday, sent it to his body man, and even his body man is like, dude, do you not understand what he's trying to say? And he held on to that for days, days. So like with this dude, it's not wrong. We're arguing semantically, just like about the ultimatum. And Lane Kiffin loves to argue semantically. At the end of the day, you did address the Players' Leadership Council, which includes Bryson Sanders, Austin Simmons, TJ Daugherty, a number of players after Keith Carter. And honestly, I know I've talked to the players in that room on that Leadership Council, the ones that you first wanted to address, and they told you just leave now. And
they did.
Yes.
The players told him that.
Yeah, the Leadership Council, because like he was like, and after that it was over. Like, you're not, of course, not dressing the team. They're moving on now. You see what I'm saying? So he said the players didn't let me talk to the players. You talked to the Leadership Council and they told you to leave, because you obviously didn't want to be here anymore. And these guys have been working for this their entire life. They're
Yes.
on the doorstep of winning a national championship. Forget about the Ole Miss history or the Lane Kiffin history. Think about what these kids have done. They're the ones that got up every 5 a.m. in June and ran stadium steps. They're the ones that have been grinding in the muck. And it was you saying, because we didn't come here. He said it, Lane. We didn't come here to be good. We came here to be great. So they strove and they became great. And when they became great, what'd you do? Deuces.
You walked.
Deuces.
Why isn't that been? And maybe you've done it on your personal stuff, but I have not personally seen that nugget out there anywhere. Why not?
I do a lot of talking, Coach, and honestly, I probably said something to that effect on the many hours I do doing my podcast, Talking Champions, wherever you would get your podcast, and also the Ole Miss Spirit, OleMissSpirit.com.
I love promotion.
You know how we do it, Coach. Because at the end of the day, I got a 13-year-old and 9-year-old to feed, man, and no one told
100%.
me when you get girls, man, it's a different kind of money, bro. Like, God is good, and I make good money for what I do, but dadgum, man, they're really bougie.
It goes. That's
they
for
are
sure.
bougie. God bless them. They're perfect in every way. But I don't know. Like, I think what people need to understand and make it crystal clear, Ole Miss is not butthurt. Ole Miss fans are not butthurt. Ole Miss media, even the guy he got to punk in a viral moment. Awesome. Like, dude, I just wish I could have cut a heel promo back on him. You know what I mean? Without fear of this like stupid popcorn muscle highway patrolman trying to fight me. But instead, it is what it is. It ends with him sending me a meme, and that's how it'll be remembered. No one's butthurt. Ole Miss just really wanted to celebrate what was originally the spirit of the thing of the sport. Getting to the precipice, being on the edge of history, locally, nationally. They did the work. They did everything. They responded. Their only loss is a one-possession loss at Georgia. Anyone threatening to drop them because of Lane Kiffin, that's the way we should handle keeping up with the Kifdashians. Let's punish the players and the local community and the millions of dollars for this local community from third-grade teachers who've been giving money in NIL, not the guy who makes $9 million, the one that makes about $1,500 a month, and they take about 10% to tithe, Coach, and they take the other 10% and they give it to the Ole Miss Grove Collective because they want to see the Rebels win on Saturday. I promise you, it's not as many as Florida or LSU, but it's way more committed because they feel like they're a part of it in that way, and you pissed on all of it.
Let me ask you this, because the audio when the Chancellor and Keith Carter met with the team was released, and I listened to the whole thing, and Carter. And this is what I love about college athletics is it's not like the NFL. It's not players and coaches that are changing every 4 or 5 months, or how Lane treats it. It's about a guy who's been at a university for over 30 years, who, as he said, when you cut me open, I bleed what red and blue, I think is what he said.
And he means it.
And so when you're in there, the reaction that he got when he announced that Pete Golding, I hope I got that name right, is going to be taking over, was loud, and it seemed like the team was excited for that announcement. Would that be accurate?
Absolutely. Pete Golding is not anything like Lane Kiffin. While Lane Kiffin plays Twitter and Instagram games, including in DMs, Pete Golding, he's tweeting out a shark when he gets a commitment. You know what I mean? Like, this dude, he's all about ball. Is he going to win at the same clip as Lane Kiffin? Man, that's going to be really hard to do, if not impossible. But also, who's to say he's not Ole Miss's Marcus Freeman, Ole Miss's Kirby Smart, who did the exact same thing when Brian Kelly left from Notre Dame, when Georgia went higher and they went and got Kirby, brought a native son home. This man coached at Delta State. He's from here. You know what I mean? And he really cares. Ole Miss's defensive coordinator, now promoted, he was the co-DC, but now he's going to be at Outright. Brian Brown, he's from Corinth. I was never a good football player. I know that's going to come as a shock to all y'all. But, we played him in high school. That was the greatest player I'd ever seen outside of Eli Andy from New Albany. You see what I'm saying?
Yes.
The roots run a lot deeper down here because Ole Miss football is what these people care about. So it matters to Brian Brown. It matters to Pete Golding. It matters to pick your guy, Jake Schoonover, who's not from here, but, man, he's made a home here. John Garrison, who could go to LSU, but I think he's staying, at least according to the last thing I heard about it. Ole Miss's offensive line coach that, quite frankly, Lane was considering firing whether he was staying or going. And John had to make a hard decision. He said, well, I want to choose the family. And the family wasn't Lane Kiffin. The family was Ole Miss.
Mm-hmm.
All right? So I'm not saying it's for everybody. I'm not saying, because it is a small town. I mean, if you dropped Ole Miss here in New Albany, it'd be about the same thing. The development is blowing up over there. I mean, if you came to Oxford, you go, holy cow, this is insane now. But it's still a small town, and it's a community. It's people. It's families. And they wanted Lane to be a part of that. And he used that, and he won, and he gave them what they'd always sought for. But then when it came time to say, you are enough, Lane did what he always does. You are less than. And that's just an unfortunate thing because it wipes away so many unbelievable things that he did here. Ole Miss fans only wanted to celebrate him forever, Coach. That's all they wanted to do. They wanted to build him a statue. They wanted to win. Like, if he was one win away from surpassing Johnny Vaught as the winningest coach, 1 or 2 wins away. The winningest coach in Ole Miss history. Johnny Vaught's name is on the stadium. It's Vaught-Hemingway Stadium. They'd have renamed it Kiffin Stadium. Instead, he chased vanity. What he always does. He chased the logo because they were going to pay you $13.5 million. He took a pay cut to go to LSU. That extension was on his desk for 2.5 weeks. Stop acting like it's for anything other than petty, superficial reasons. Vanity of vanities, Coach.
Isn't it amazing, Ben, that if you lined up probably every football coach in America when they start their career and you say, what would you like to accomplish? What is the ultimate? And they say, just an opportunity. Just a chance to play for a national champ or be in the discussion. And they're probably watching this going, oh my God, if you hand that to me, I don't care what other offer I have. The feeling that you get from that in a city like Oxford or Lawrence or even Baton Rouge, if you're doing it the right way, is an amazing feeling that most of us will never, ever, ever, ever know. Now, with that being said, this could get uglier. And I'm going to ask you this. Trinidad, yeah, great story. He's going to file for another season to play.
Already did so, yeah.
Okay, so the NIL money, and this has got to change in a couple of years. You're taking $2 million here, then leave and take. Would it surprise you? Because he tweeted out last week, this isn't about Lane, this is about us. So he was the leader, at least on social media. Do you think that Lane has already spoken to him and said, I've got $25 million, I can target 2 or 3 of that for you if you come to LSU, if you get your whatever they call it, the approval to play and be our starting quarterback for 1 year to get us started on the right foot. Would that surprise you?
No, of course not. Like, it would be a dereliction of duty for Lane Kiffin at LSU if he didn't do so. Of course, that's what you do. That's what he's doing right now in recruiting. He's recruiting for his signing day on Wednesday, while those LSU staffers that don't know if they're going to be on staff with him or not have been spending a year building out a class, don't know if they're who they're recruiting for, and they're building their own class, whether it's for LSU or wherever they end up. You see how messy this gets?
Yes.
That's why Ole Miss had no other choice but to promote Pete Golding because of the delayed tactics of Lane Kiffin. And make no mistake, all Lane Kiffin really gave a crap about Saturday night, not the meeting with Keith, not the meeting with Glenn. And Keith gives a crap about this place. They'll bury him in Oxford, Mississippi. You know what I mean? Like, this is where Keith. Yeah. I grew up watching. Like, you remember the Valpo game, Coach?
Mm-hmm.
Right,
explain to everybody. Yes, of course.
Keith Carter was on that floor, but they don't. And they talk about that, but you don't know what they don't talk about when Keith Carter's one of the best sharpshooters I've ever seen. Number 33, bro, he could kill it from downtown. People came from far and wide to watch that man play. He cares about this place, right? He cares about this place. So Walker Jones who runs the Grove Collective. He's a former Ole Miss linebacker. He cares about this place. Everyone is pouring money into it. Will he approach Trinidad Chambliss and any player? He already is doing so. Of course he is. But here's the bottom line. This is a business, and this is going to sound harsh, and it's not meant to be. I've been a proponent of paying players for as long as I knew that it was a thing to do that could possibly happen. Because like an unpaid labor force, there's nothing more unequitable, in my opinion. And so now they're getting compensated, I would say fairly, but you could argue it needs to be collectively bargained. They should be worth more and get more of the pie. I completely agree. However, you're contracted through Ole Miss, not Lane Kiffin. So until you fulfill your obligations, like people have been asking me, do you think there'll be any opt-outs for the playoff? I would be shocked, first of all, if any player that did those 5 o'clock up downs and stair runs at Vaught Hemingway in June forfeits the chance to fulfill a lifelong dream
Can you
out of
imagine?
loyalty to Lane Kiffin.
Wow.
But
Yeah.
then at the end, like even if at the end of the year they decide, well, I'm going to entertain LSU and LSU, they're asking me $2 million, that was going to happen anyway. Ole Miss had to pay, like, even guys that were on their roster that didn't play that much last year, you have to renegotiate with all of these players. You have to, like, because this isn't like the NFL where you've got a 4-year contract and you're in year 3 or year 4 and you want to get a contract reset or anything like that. No, dude, this is quite literally year to year. And the fiscal year, the Ole Miss business year, is not done. I'm not worried about any player for the playoff. And honestly, Ole Miss will be an advantage, will have at least one advantage of getting right to first renegotiation. So, and there's some players out there. Their two best defensive players right now, in my opinion, are Cam Franklin and William Eccles. Those dudes were ready to get in the portal and not come back had Lane come back. So
Really?
again, guys, like, Coach, I appreciate you letting me tell some of this stuff like straight up what it is, because like if you want to say, well, then everybody's going to leave. Did you think that everybody on that, like, just because you're swept up in Kiffin mania, again, Keeping Up with the Kardashians, it's a fun reality show. But we're talking about actual human beings, and you think ain't nobody universally liked. Did you see how the internet went off on me this weekend?
Oh,
You know what I mean?
and they don't even know you.
Yeah,
They-
like,
most of
dude,
it-
and again, I said, thank you, God. I probably lost my job if I called it, yelled back in his face. I should have, but I'm so mad, God, this is unfair. People are calling me a bitch now. But also, like, that's pride of pride, vanity of vanity. I ain't worried about none of that. Point
No.
being is, like, you think he's been fair and equitable to all the 100 players in his room? Come on now. Like,
All right, so let me ask you this.
we love to
For
talk
those
about hypothetical problems. Now Ole Miss can worry about the only problem they ever wanted to worry about to begin with, and that's winning its first title since the frickin' 60s.
So for guys that are players like what you're saying, and I'll put it right back to you. Thank you for being so honest about what's going on. That's why we do these. This is why I do this at my brand, and this has been an amazing 30 or 40 minutes. The players that you're talking about that are so good, that are willing to go into the portal to leave a coach like Lane Kiffin, at the core of the issue, what is it?
Who's paying me the most? I mean,
So are you saying that those players go to Lane Kiffin or go to the school and say, listen, I would like, let's use $500,000 as a number, 500,000.
Yep.
And Ole Miss said to those two guys that you're talking about, sorry, we're not paying you that. And they say, well, Michigan will, or Florida will, or whoever it is. Is it that simple?
yes. Yes. This is quite literally how simple it is. Because it's the Wild West. There are no that's another thing. I asked Lane this directly on the SEC teleconference. Okay. Again, he says he don't know my name, but I talked to him 3 times a week for 6 years. But okay, I did a podcast for his son. Okay,
He doesn't know you.
Again, it's like Regina George stuff. You know what I mean? It's like, you can't sit with us. It's that kind of stuff. You know what I mean? It's like, dude, just chill. It ain't like that. But it's that simple. I mean, it's where. So-and-so is offering me this. I asked Lane on the SEC teleconference, do you think because of this whole situation that would be better if there was more structure in college football like the NFL, to where if another team wanted to come get a head coach, you have to file a request. You have to submit a request, and that other team can deny you. Even more than that, if your coach leaves while he's on a multi-year contract, you get draft pick compensation. Obviously, college football doesn't have a draft, but could you get NIL compensation? Like, all of these are things that normal businesses, like the business world that has its shit together, this is how it's supposed to be. Instead, you've got college football, which is, there are no rules. There's no rules to any of this. As long as you're not breaking tax law, go for it. No one's going to tell you no. So, I mean, these kids are getting pre-portal, Coach. They're already talking to other schools. Winnie Watkins will probably follow Lane to LSU, but I hope he doesn't, because he's had a breakout year for him, and I know Ole Miss fans love him, and the Ole Miss Collective wants to retain him, think he's great. But after his breakout against Georgia, dude, he was getting called by every school you could imagine.
Amazing.
I got the receipts. You know what I mean? Like, every school you can imagine. But don't think that Lane Kiffin hasn't pre-portaled people at Ole Miss and won't be doing it at LSU too. Of course it happens. It's common practice. It would be a dereliction of duty if those coaches didn't do that. Because they are right. Lane is absolutely right about one thing. It is year to year. And just as if you're not, and John Sumrall put it succinctly, I thought, really well, who's now coaching in Florida. And John Sumrall is awesome. And like Ole Miss went down the road talking to John Summerall through all of this, couldn't really get serious as it wanted to because you can't say, well, let Lane, you're
Yeah.
fired and pay him $32 million. I mean,
Yeah.
the call stuff and actionable stuff, like it's not done getting messy. But like John Summerall put it best, man, as a coach, you're either getting talked about for other jobs or being fired. And like it's one or the other. You're coaching to either get promoted and get talked about being promoted, or like like Brian Kelly got $54 million to go away.
To walk away.
And Lane Kiffin, and they said, well, that does it for LSU. They're going to have to go hire, a coordinator. They gave $98 million to Lane Kiffin. This is unfettered capitalism.
which is
Unfettered.
which is why so many people are upset in Louisiana. Give me a timeline here, because I'm trying to educate myself and educate our audience. And this interview is going to go viral because you. Let me just tell you this. I do this. I've done this for a long time. You're one of the best interviews I've ever done because of the
Oh,
information and the way you talk and the way you're putting it out there. And it's not vengeful in any way, shape, or form. You're giving information with attitude and with charisma, and that's awesome. Give me a
dude.
timeline.
Can I
True.
just take a second to say the freaking coach from Raw is War telling your boy, you know what? You know
True.
what, young buck? If I gave you the mic and put you out there in the middle of the squared circle,
You could do it.
for like 3 minutes to cut a promo. Now I'm a little words. I do go long winded. You'd have to coach me again, coach. No pun
It's okay.
intended. On how to trim it down to 3-4 minutes. I'm supposed to give my testimony at church on Sunday for the Christmas program. You might have to show me how to make. Like, how am I supposed to do something for 4 minutes?
So you write bullet points, and then you give what I tell my guys on my show: two nuggets, 2 nuggets on each thing, and that will give you 45 seconds or a minute. Promise you.
Dang.
Promise
See,
you. It's as simple as that. It's as simple as
dude,
that. I have a
big
coaching.
bro
I
in
have a
me,
coaching
dude. That's
business.
what I need.
Yeah.
40 years
Yeah.
young,
Don't
big
worry.
growing.
I promise you, this will not be the last time you and I've got several shows, and I already have ideas to use you.
Oh, you're the best,
So
dude.
give me a timeline on the other day
Mhm.
when we're waiting all day Sunday for the announcement. Is Keith Carter spending that day contacting players and or coaches to privately meet and negotiate? Take me through what that situation is on Sunday.
I think it quite literally changed completely Sunday morning. It was a fluid thing for 2 straight weeks because the extension was the extension, at least 13 million. He took a pay cut to go to LSU. He could say it wasn't about money. Yes, but come on, it was about the logo. We're arguing semantically. We're still about a vanity that you don't want to admit. But for Keith in the business of Ole Miss, I know one high-ranking official at Ole Miss that before the Egg Bowl wanted to fire him then and there. And actually, I heard from an industry source like that Sunday, and I dismissed it completely as nonsense. Ben, do you think he's going to make it to the Egg Bowl? I've heard that. I was like, dude, there's no way. That's insane to me. I didn't even think it was like that. Honestly, I didn't think it had gotten deteriorated to that point. They talked to coaches. They talked to John Summerall. They felt they were down the road with Alex Golesh. I know Alex Golesh, who's now at Auburn, felt like he had a real opportunity, or he was a leading candidate at Ole Miss, and he wasn't wrong. The in-house consideration was always there because you got to maintain the short term, because the short term is all there really is, and Ole Miss could win a title in a couple of friggin' weeks. So like for them, they'd done all that vetting. They talked NIL strategy and stuff with John Summerall. They did a coaching search. This wasn't a great hiring pool for anybody because at the end of all things, Coach, while Lane Kiffin is being sold as a grand slam, this was a coaching bucket full of doubles being sold as home runs. You know what I mean? Like,
Yes,
it's just
I
what it
get
is.
that.
But like,
I get that.
think John Summerall is going to be a superstar. I think Lane Kiffin is going to kill it at LSU. And like, I think that their brand and like the obnoxiousness of that brand, and I'm not knocking it, I love it.
That's a great word. It's a great word, though. It's a great word,
my
though.
favorite thing in college football. It is just the most crap talking song ever. I walk around my house, not around my kids, but when I'm by myself, me and my little dog Rosie, dude, it's yeah, I love that, dude. So I don't think when I'm talking on you, I think LSU's awesome. I love the spirit of the thing. Like our team's better than you. That's fun. This stuff isn't fun, but I think Lane will really play into that, and that's going to be so. I mean, you're not going to be able to take your eyes off of it. It's just the truth. But for where Ole Miss is now, there's relief. It's like you can move on to the business of things. They had been through the business walk for 2 weeks because they had to be. He forced their hand in that way, right? And they had real candidates they were interested in and thought they had a real shot to get. Ultimately, though, The divorce got really, really messy, and everybody was trying to get their flesh, and everybody forgot about the kids. You know what I mean?
Yes.
And that's the
Yes.
really crappy part. And I just wish that the national people out there, your national audience and all that stuff, will understand one thing very simply. Ole Miss is. I know y'all want to say you're just little brother and stuff. I think it's way cooler to think of it this way. Why are we gonna knock people that want to just have a seat at the table that they haven't been invited to for so long? Why do we run down success? Why do we say, well, stay where you are? Why do we not celebrate brothers and sisters when they come up and also call out stuff that is unfair and unequitable? And the way this man did this was unfair and unequitable. But he wanted to play as if he was the one that was done wrong when the facts don't back him up. But again, he's never been one to not want to argue semantically, get his virality, because he knows better than anybody else. Bro, everything is wrestling, and we got the attention spans of dogs, which is what, 4 seconds?
That's about it. That's about it.
I never presumed to think just because the internet started talking about this stupid idiot a lot that I was about to become a millionaire. I'm still driving my paid off 04 F-150, and I'll still be driving it. Praise be to God, because man, that thing's still rolling along.
It's still going.
Dude, still rolling along. But I would say, like, that's Ole Miss. You know what I mean? People got stuff to do. The Rebels were winning. They were winning like never before. Coach, thank you. What an amazing thing. Stay. We love you. Here's all 13.5 million. Man, that's a lot harder for us than it is for other people. But yes, promise, it's on the table. Oh, you're worried about NIL? All right, well, I'm going to go ask Aunt Fran down in Corinth to give about another $50. And then I can go, pass around the collection plate somewhere. And you pissed all over it.
It's so hard for somebody. We both love it.
You could have left, and they would have still celebrated you had you just been decent about it. But history repeats, Coach. Nick Saban, who had no problem saying you should let him coach in the playoffs. Dude, you didn't let him coach in the playoffs.
That's right. Nick, he left for Florida Atlantic.
No, he didn't.
He wasn't prepared.
Nick made him go.
Exactly. Because he wasn't prepared.
Tennessee. This exit is the Tennessee exit on steroids. He tried to do a press conference to know that he didn't want to leave being a dick at Tennessee. Yeah. And so he did try to do a press conference. It was a disaster. This time he had more weapons at his disposal to try to craft a narrative, including friendlies in the media who were rep by the same agency to say things that were preposterous, to try to shape a narrative. But at the end of it, we're all still saying the same thing. Dude, own your shit. You
just own it. Just own it. And you use a wrestling term, and when he said LSU is the number one job in America, I thought he is now the number one heel in America. And awesome. Maybe he'll embrace that. And guess what? It's going to give us content. It's going to give us stuff to talk about. And so for guys like me and you, this is going to be a lot of fun. And I think and I'll let you get out of here on this, and I'll give you the last word, that when Ole Miss, when all is said and done, there could be a relief that you've got a guy in, as you say, that is all about ball, and that maybe they can use this as a rallying cry and say, you know what, we are better off now that some of these stories are coming out without Lane Kiffin if we can continue with the success we're going to. So I'll give you the last word. What do you hope to come out of this? What do you hope for yourself will come out of what you didn't ask to be viral? You didn't ask, but guess what? When you're in the media, this isn't the worst thing for you. What would you be your final word?
For me, the only thing I could ever get out of this was actually getting to meet Project Pat. I swear that's all I want. I swear, dude. Project Pat is the greatest rapper of all time. So, Pat, if you're out there, I think you're a pastor in Arkansas. And if you don't know who Project Pat is, he's from Memphis. He's a Memphis Tennessee rapper. 3-6 Mafia. I was raised in North Mississippi. These were our guys. And Project Pat Smith Don't Play is the greatest rap album of all time. I would love to meet Pat because, buddy, I was borrowing from you. You know what I mean? So, if you got some Spotify hits off of this stupid stuff, I don't need nothing from it. Just let me know. You know what I mean? That's my guy. I'm a preacher in Arkansas now. It isn't about money for me. I'm blessed. I'm too blessed to be stressed now. The blessings are abundant because I get to payday every week. But buddy, we above ground. What we got to worry about? For me, I
love your attitude, man.
What I want for Lane Kiffin though.
What?
And I hope he gets whatever he's chasing. I just hope he gets it, bro. I really do, because man, it was awesome to have a front row seat to how far that man grew, not just physically with the weight loss but spiritually and and so like reconciliation with family, like becoming a better dad. Like it was unreal to see all that kind of stuff, man. But we're all flawed human beings. We all have our issues, bro. And just be honest with yourself. And I would hope that whatever you've been searching for, that you find it or have found it. And I hope you can find contentment. That's what I would wish out of this, is contentment for Lane Kiffin and for Ole Miss fans out there, that you get what you've been waiting for your entire life. There's a paper clipping right here, the Tupelo Daily Journal, bro. Eli Manning in 2001, Ole Miss finally beat Alabama for the first time. Couldn't tell you how long. 27-23, coach. You know what I mean? Oh, it was a day. It was a magical day, right? It used to be, can you just beat big bad Alabama? Now you're beating LSU, State in the same season, and we're talking about, but is Lane Kiffin, did he get on the plane? Oh, coach, did he get on the plane? Wait, you get what I'm saying? Like Ole
Yeah.
Miss people, I hope for them that they get what they desperately have just wanted to celebrate the whole time, their greatest season in modern history, and they get a title, even though most people say they shouldn't. And those stuffy old men in suits that make these decisions, when it should just be about a uniform criteria decided by computers who gets in and how they're seated. They'll say, well, they don't have Lane, they won't make as much money for us, robbing a local community of $50 to $70 million that puts food on their table because you're only thinking about your own pockets to be lined. I would hope that Ole Miss is able to win a title, because dead gummit, what a story it would be.
Can you imagine if this whole story ends like that in
What a
January?
story it would be.
I mean, you're going to have 50 states that are going to be Ole Miss fans if they somehow could navigate this whole thing. Real quick, tell the good people at home how they can consume your content, where they can find you, all that good stuff.
The Ole Miss Spirit, omspirit.com. I've been working there for 20 years. An affiliate of On3 now. Shannon Terry and company have been incredible supporters of us and everything we're doing. So, man, I would love to have you over there. You can join for $1, and if you don't like it, it's $1. So come hang out with us, man. We're really proud of what we do. And more than that, we're proud of the community we've cultivated. Talk of Champions is a podcast I do. I've been daily now. You know, this is the thing. Like, I finally started, like, I've been podcasting since, like, podcasting became podcast. But, like, you know, I didn't get really back into it because I was trying to fall back. I was kind of tired of the game, coach. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? So I was trying to,
sure.
like, I'll do the producing for all of these shows and this, that, and the other. And then, you know, I was told by On3, like, dude, you got to get back in front of the camera. I said, okay, fine. Self-hate me was like, oh, dude, I'm sweating the first time I do it. I hate that stuff. Now it's just like, it's fine. I would encourage everybody, man, just speak your mind and be yourself, be authentic. And I would encourage that for Lane Kiffin too. And if you want to hear my stupid butt talk more, I don't know why you would. Talk of Champions is a podcast to listen to, and at Spirit Been on Twitter, which I'm not great at responding on Twitter. I try to, but also just don't talk about my family, folks. For all y'all that don't like me, it's cool, bro. It's chill. Just don't talk about the
Leave the
family.
family out of it.
That's
That's
kind of
it.
weird, bro. Like it
That's
ain't
it.
like that, you know.
Well, Ben, I on behalf of me and my whole team here, I can't thank you enough for the time. This has been so not only educational but
Oh,
entertaining. And like I said, I'm just talking because we're on the show. Everybody that knows me, that I run this brand, when I say something, and we'll figure out a way to work together because
oh,
you're entertaining. Not everybody can talk the way that you do.
hey,
That's the
look,
god
man.
honest truth.
You
It
know,
really is.
from somebody who used to, like, as a kid, go to the Bancorp South Center in Tupelo just to see, like, you know, a dark show of the NWO. You know, I've always wanted to go to a Royal Rumble, coach. I'm just saying. Just
Well, I'll
saying.
see if I can make that happen in 27 because this one's in Saudi Arabia.
Yeah, no, we
So
good on that.
yeah,
We good
yeah,
on
we're
that,
doing
coach.
that.
Yeah,
But
no,
maybe
no,
the
I'm good
next
on.
year, I'll
I'm
see.
good
I'll
on
see if
that
I
one,
can make
coach.
a call. All right, Ben Garrett, thank you
Thank you,
very,
brother.
very, very much. Absolutely amazing, guys. I hope that you all enjoyed that last nearly an hour on Lane Kiffin and take a lot out of it. There's a lot of good there, and I think the thing I'm going to take out of it the most is that we can sit here and argue about how he did it. At the end of the day, he's a human being that had to make a very, very difficult choice that many of us will never understand, that many of us will never be presented with because he is elite at what he does. And that's the difference between a lot of us and what Lane Kiffin does. Now, the other side of the fence is this, that there's going to be a lot of us, including myself, that think about those kids that are out there on every Saturday that are trying to get it done and just simply do something that they absolutely love to do. So, share this interview, share this podcast. Obviously, you know the brand is growing. We have several different shows. But once again, thank you to Ben Garrett for the time. And really, you don't get that from national media. So I would encourage, there's probably 10 or 15 things in this interview that you didn't know, that you simply didn't know because the national media is not there in Oxford to get it done. So that's going to do it for now. I'm blown away. I'll be honest with you, I am blown away at what we just heard for the last 45 minutes to an hour. Remember, we are here every single weekday morning on Stadium, on Bally Sports Live, Amazon Prime, DirecTV, with the morning show 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. Eastern Time. And don't forget about our wrestling content that Ben loves very, very much as well. I have my own show on SiriusXM daily, 2 to 4 Eastern Time, called Off the Ropes with the Coach. So I encourage you to consume all of our content because this is what we're trying to do. Until next time, I am the coach on behalf of my entire team, producer man, Mikey P, our associate producer, and everybody else. This is the Coaching Company Podcast. We'll see you tomorrow.